The scream. That's what I'll never forget. It was an animal scream, like the vocal cords weren't properly structured. That banshee howl that shivered deep in the marrow of my bones and vibrated my bowels. Half scream, half death rattle. That scream is something I'll never be able to scrub from my memory. Since the accident, as my doctor refers to it, I sleep in short, empty sessions. Not a dream, not a whisper of fantasy to release me, not even a nightmare. They've all drained from my subconscious. That tank is long dried up. The constant shaking makes it nearly impossible to type. My psychiatrist called it the worst case of PTSD he'd ever seen. Don't feel bad for me though. Feel bad for the mother who resides in a state hospital, laughing endlessly as if it is all just some cruel cosmic joke. Feel bad for the father who leapt off a balcony to his death with a loud slap the day after he had her committed. Feel bad for Oliver, the kid it happened to. The kid my son Samuel turned backwards. It was Samuel's 7th birthday. Toys were giddily unwrapped with excited little fingers as joyful music played. The sun was shining and the birds chirped. I don't recall a more pleasant day in terms of the weather. The kids had been yelling and getting a little rough. One of the kids had been teasing Sam for still playing with stuffed animals. He sounded a bit cruel and nagging. That was the last thing I heard before that awful silence. I went inside for just a few minutes to reply to a work email when the din of children bickering stopped abruptly. Suddenly, it was too quiet. I had just begun to realize that when I heard Samuel's voice. I looked from the inbox on my screen over to the doorway to see his big brown eyes peering up at me. His freckled face peeked out from behind the painted frame. "I turned someone backwards," he said in a shy, half whisper as he watched me, waiting for my angered reaction. It was like a child's riddle to me though. Something innocent and playful. A game, more than likely. But then I heard it. I heard that blood-curdling scream like razor blades across my eardrums. It came from outside. It was guttural, animal. It seemed to linger in the air like some ungodly siren. I ran out the back door to the lawn, only wondering what could possibly be the source of that terrible wail. I then saw what backwards meant. There was an abstract form standing in the lawn. It stood about half the size of a man on 2 mangled legs of bending bone and exposed meat. It trembled as if cold from having just shed its skin, but the skin wasn't missing. It was inside out, stretched over that glistening sculpture of veneous horror that ran fluids like a searing pork chop. Yellow beads of fat swirled down over the ribbon fibers of visible muscle, which spasmed and twitched in an unknowable pain. What must have been the head was the worst. It had a hole in the center that streamed the sagging rope of brain past exploded shards of teeth which splayed outwards in white streaks like pulled taffy. Inverted intestines slipped down the lubricated pelvic bone, just in white and pristine, as if unaware it should be encased in flesh. Pattering offal plopped noisily onto the sunny tarmac. I could hear it then, through those rattling screams of the other children and parents who had only then processed what they were seeing. It whispered in confusion, twisting and wincing slightly at first from the gradual building pain. It was a meek voice, confused, hurting and afraid. "What's happening to me?" it whimpered through drooling syllables. The nerves of that abomination must have finally begun to process what they were feeling, because after that, all it could do was scream.